Hey, what's going on, everybody? We have another Regulation Volume 1 battle video, as we are going to be focusing on Leomon today, as it will be taking, I think, one of the best spots in the metagame when Regulation Battle Volume 1 starts, as this deck will be a very good introduction into the format and a very good deck into a lot of that metagame. So before we get into it, as always, I just want to thank you for being a part of the Ed Army, as we're going to be jumping straight into it right now, as you've come to see Leomon. And Leomon is here for you. So starting off, why is Leomon going to be a good deck in Regulation Battle Volume 1? First, the main thing is going to be this. When we look at the decks that are going to be available for this format, a lot of nerfing has taken place in terms of decks availability to certain cards. So in the uncommon and common slots of cards, you really have to look for archetypes. If you want to play an archetype, of course, you can't just play good stuff of a certain deck. If you want to play an archetype, you have to see what an archetype actually has available to it in terms of its pieces. What does it actually have as an advantage over other cards? And luckily for Leomon, this is a deck that being printed in the low rarity slots has actually given it a big leg up in a metagame like this, as this might be one of the strongest decks in terms of its viability based on the fact that it has almost all of its really good pieces available to it right now. So starting off, what do we work with? First, the eggs. Personally, you actually have two Frymons you can work with. I mean, they were never printed as rares, but the point is, for Frymon, I would personally pick the one from EX5, as most of the support from EX5 is what we're playing in this deck, because a lot of it is low rarity and available. This one is a when attacking, you simply draw if you have Leomon in its name. This is really big for this metagame, because there's not going to be a ton of effects like that, in the sense that unless a deck is running something like some generic cards to draw, they're not going to be having draws in a consistent manner. In this deck, we're actually going to be able to take advantage of that effect with a good stack on top. So most decks might just be trading their rookies in for certain egg effects, like drawing a card and then like having them die, where in this deck, we're actually going to build up and use that draw as a good way to filter, but also have searchability behind it. So it is not just a simple need for consistency. We already have consistency in the rookies, as we'll look at next, but that's why I think you should run EX5. You also have the yellow Frymon. It is up to you, but I think the EX5 one has the best option here. But moving into it, what do we have to work with? Well, we have a good lineup, luckily. Both EX5 Leomon and EX5 Elecmon are here, additionally backed up with BT20 Leomon. Starting off with both the EX5 ones, Leomon will allow you to, on play, search your security and add one Digimon with Leomon in its name, and if you add it, you recover +1. For Elecmon, you'll reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and add one card with Leomon in its name to your hand. Very good. Both for their inheritables are different. Elecmon gives you on deletion de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, and Leomon will give you on deletion one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. Now, BT20 Leomon is a bit funny here, because you're not really playing it in the same sense unless you want to add more Accel cards to your deck, so you're not really going to hard play this. The main reason it's here is it can digivolve on top of Frymon for 0, but more importantly, it carries Barrier as its inheritable to give this deck even more resilience against, like, dying in security. So this is an important effect, because we don't have Fortitude in this deck, because a lot of the Fortitude Leomon Digimon are unfortunately going to be in the rare slot, so we don't have access to them. So Barrier is an important effect to have. So it is key to know that that's why Leomon is here. You can play more Accel cards, which will allow you to use its on play to reveal them and try to find Accel cards, but I do have caveats if you choose to not do that. But these are our rookies, because you just need to use them because your EX5 slots actually have to digivolve on top of Elecmon and Leomon, so you need those options. You have options to change out Leomon for different Elecmons as well, but personally, this is what we're working with, and I think it actually does its job pretty well. Looking at exactly what we have to work with for our level 4s, we have both EX5 Leomon and Leomon. They actually are mirrors almost to Elecmon and Leomon, where Leomon carries the digivolve on deletion, and Leomon actually carries the on deletion minus 2000 DP, so they carry over from their rookies. On top of that, they both generically digivolve on top of Leomon and Elecmon for a cost of 2, but for Leomon and Leomon, they share the effect where when attacking, this Digimon may digivolve into a Digimon card with Leomon in its name for a reduced cost of 1. This will be important when you're using it with some other Digimon, but the point is it's very good to have this ability on hand for both of them, so you can speed up your plays, as a lot of decks in this metagame will try to probably end the game quickly, because it's probably going to be in better positions to run faster decks instead of slower. So this is one of those ways you can keep up with a lot of the faster paced strategies. But additionally, for the third slot of champions, it's a little hard to find out what you could run, because on top of it, I personally would run the BT20 Leomon. This one is more so here because unfortunately it's not treated as a Leomon, so you can't use that. The key factor is this thing has a good effect for on playing when digivolving. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP. You're usually clearing like Floodgate rookies or just rookies in general. But on top of that, it is a dual color black-yellow, so that is somewhat important for going up. But it does have a problem when we talk about some of the Digimon we'll talk about afterwards. But its inheritable is barrier, so if you did not get barrier on something like, say for instance, the Leomon from BT20, you can digivolve this if you can on top of your Leomon or your other Leomon, and then just simply give the stack barrier that way by going to your level 5s. Like I said, that's your option. Additionally, you can replace Leomon for like something like the BT4 Leomon, which is green. You also have the EX1 Leomon, which is yellow, if you really want to change it out. Like I said, the biggest problem is you want your top end Digimon are usually going to be green. So you don't want to not be able to have the green color, which is why I didn't have the EX1 Leomon here, because unfortunately it only synergizes with the Accel trait cards. But, you know, it is up to you. But I will talk about that next, as our main level 5s, I think, are going to be these two, being the BT14 Pangimon and the I think it's the BT9 Pangimon X Antibody. So the reason that we're playing both of these is for multiple reasons. First, they are searchable because both of them contain the rule trait to be treated as Leomon in name. So you can search for these, increasing your pool of search targets. Additionally, what you want to do with Pangimon, which I think is really good, this one from the BT14, this one suspends a Digimon and then allows you to have piercing. The reason that I think this is going to be big is that in this format, there will be no ace Digimon. So the only threat you have to worry about are security bombs. So otherwise, this card will almost always suspend something and kill it as long as it's not like a level 6. But in some cases, that'll actually work to your benefit when you're actually dealing with the threat. Additionally, it's inheritable that during your turn, while this Digimon has Leomon in its name, it gets 2000 DP. I think this is very important because this will give your Digimon on top, your level 6, a bigger chance at clearing stuff, especially because in this metagame, the biggest Digimon you're probably going to usually see are like 13k Digimon at most, and then below. So this Digimon with that boost can easily clear like 14k Digimon, so it's always important. Additionally, Pangimon X is here because it gives you an additional draw. So this is something, if you're playing the slow raising game, you can Digivolve the Pangimon into the X form for 0, draw 1, and then for its on deletion, when it's deleted, this Digimon plays out Leomon from its sources. This is really big in that you can keep on recycling if you just want to stay here and swing with Pangimon X. You don't have to, but it is an option. But I just like that ability of being able to Digivolve up, because almost all of your level 5s, level 4s will contain green. If you are playing Leomon, you will need to find a way to Digivolve around it. But luckily, that's kind of the case here. You don't necessarily need to run that with these, and I'll show you why. So the next option too is you could run some number of copies of the Loader Leomon that happens to be the Accel trait one. The main reason we're doing this is that Loader Leomon can go on top of, I think, all of your level 4s if you choose to run Leomon, the Accel trait one as well, because they'll all either have black in color or yellow in color. And then obviously Leomon was meant to go into this from BT20, so it works. But the main reason why is you want that on play when Digivolving, that until the end of your opponent's next turn, one of their Digimon can't activate when Digivolving effects, and you can minus 3000 on that Digimon. So effectively, you can stun down stacks that your opponent is trying to build on if you want to, but also at the same time, you're able to get rid of Floodgate rookies if you so choose. So it is very important to decide that. Additionally, with the inheritable, it says one of your opponent's Digimon attacks, you may change the attack target to this Digimon. This is a huge effect. I think it's one of the reasons why I would want to run it in this deck. But like I said, Accel is completely different, I think, than playing just Leomon, and I'll show that in another video. But we're going to get into the level 6s here. As we look at the level 6s here, we actually have our main one, which is going to be the Leomon from BT14, the Saber Leomon. This one's actually insane for the metagame for a few reasons. First, it has piercing as its innate skill, cool. But when Digivolving, it suspends one of your opponent's Digimon, but at the end of your turn, this Digimon attacks an opponent's Digimon. So what makes this card so good is if you pair this with the Pangimon and the Pangimon from BT16, what you're doing here is you're basically making this a 14k Digimon, and it can run through your opponent's stuff. So basically, this gives Leomon one of the advantages in this metagame to be a board clear in terms of like running through specific Digimon. Now, this obviously is somewhat slow to some people, but I really like this because this gives Leomon, specifically Leomon as a deck, the ability to clear off opponents like Digimon, and I think that's going to be a very important factor to keep in the metagame for Volume 1, because when you start losing materials and sources, there isn't as simple ways of like going for a scramble, going for memory boosts. There's nothing really like that where you can just get memory back and then hard play stuff to try rebuilding stacks. This will clear off something, and then afterwards, it's just a really big Digimon to keep on attacking your opponent with, so it's very good. Now, when you're supplementing this, because it's not the only level 6 you'll play, obviously, you can supplement it with something like this. So my main idea is to use any of the Accel cards. So Bancho Leomon is searchable in the strategy. The only problem is that if you're going with the green base of the level 5s, you cannot digivolve, let's say, Bancho Leomon on top of them, because he can only digivolve on top of Accel traits for his special evolution condition, and none of the other Digimon that are level 5 that you have access to will carry black or yellow as a color, so it kind of limits you from using him, and funny enough, in a Leomon deck, right? So you can search him, but you can't really use him. The other option is why I'd say you can still play Leomon in the level 3 slot, because you can search for VOL.1, which is absolutely one of the best Digimon in this format. I cannot understate how good this card is, and the main reason why it's so good is because this Digimon gets extremely big with its effect if you want to make it big, and it can attack, so it can basically blitz, so it's worth paying the 4 memory. This card is also extremely good just to have, because having its ability on playing when digivolving for when you play Accel will be on another level. But for this deck, what it offers you is it's another way for you to have Saber Leo's effect, but being able to make sure you can run over something even more. So it is very cool. Like I said, this deck is really interesting because I think Leomon has the most consistency. The problem is it's just missing some more of its Digimon. Like, it would really want to benefit from having the Fortitude level 5s in this specific metagame, because you could do early chips with them and then they could just bring themselves back. So you could supplement them. It's just you don't really want to play outside Engine in the level 5 slot, because you can't really take advantage of Leomon's inheritables and Leomon's standard effect to digivolve by attacking. So we reduce that Evo. So you'd rather be able to reduce Evo into something that can at least go down to like a 2 cost. So it's really good. So you do have those options. But yeah, pretty much that's going to be it for Leomon in this specific video. I think this is a really good deck going into Volume 1's metagame, because of the decks available, there are going to be a lot, I think, that are going to emerge of archetypes besides, like, good stuff decks and things like that. But when it comes to having consistency between your rookies and trying to find pieces, I think this is one of the only decks that really has a lot of its archetypal support immediately at the bottom, so you can actually ramp up into this deck pretty quickly. And I will talk about Accel in another video, because I think that's going to be one of the best decks in the format period, because it's just super strong. But that's all I've got for you guys today. I do hope you enjoyed this, and as always, this has been Brad from the Ad Army signing off, and for all of you out there, to sign on.